Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
Today's guest is BYU women's volleyball's Abby Taylor, who started her collegiate career at Tyler Junior College in Texas before becoming a cowgirl at the University of Wyoming. Because of her COVID year and a certain someone on the men's volleyball team, Abby got a bonus year to play for BYU. Abby, thank you so much for being here with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So your BYU volleyball career was a short one lone season with the Cougars after transferring from the University of Wyoming. Was it everything that you had hoped for that last year at BYU?
Yeah, it was the best way I probably could have ended my volleyball career. My only regret, I say, in volleyball is that I wasn't able to come here earlier. It was so much fun.
Is it really strange to think about your volleyball career being over? Is that a weird thought?
Yeah, I haven't really come to terms with it yet. A lot of people have asked me if I miss it, and I do miss it when I go and watch my husband's games here, but I'm not really over having to be here 5 hours early before the game. I'm still kind of in my break mode, so I'm still kind of enjoying that right now. But yeah, I definitely do miss it. It's amazing, and I miss my teammates and coaches.
We'll get to know how you ended your college volleyball career here at BYU in just a little bit, but let's get back a few years. You grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, with a mom, Gigi, who played college volleyball at Cypress College, and a dad, Phil, who played college basketball in Idaho. Did you naturally gravitate to those two sports?
No. So my siblings and I actually grew up playing tennis. So I think my parents just liked watching tennis, and they just put us in tennis, and we were tennis players until high school, basically. So I tried basketball in high school. Well, I started in middle school with my sister because my mom wouldn't let us do cheerleading, and the only other option was basketball. So we did basketball for 2 years in middle school. So my dad was happy with that, but he hates watching women's basketball. So he wasn't mad when we didn't want to do it. And then my brothers played basketball in middle school, but they also gravitated towards volleyball in high school, and same with my sister.
So that's interesting. You ended up playing volleyball like your mom. You didn't start playing volleyball until you were in high school. What pushed you to start playing?
So I have a sister that's 1 year older than me, and she chose volleyball over tennis because in Vegas, volleyball and tennis were both in the fall. So that's when we had to decide if we were doing volleyball or tennis. And she had gone the volleyball route and enjoyed it. So I just chose to follow her.
So what did your mom say about you joining volleyball in high school?
She loved it. She was so happy. She always gives my dad a hard time because she's like, all the kids picked my sport. And she just kind of jokes with him. But it's funny. Now my dad has learned volleyball, and now it's kind of his sport more than basketball, honestly.
All right, let's go back to just talking about when you first started. What position were you hoping to play when you first started playing volleyball?
I mean, everyone wants to be a hitter. I wanted to be a hitter, but I wasn't going to be as tall as I hoped. I thought I was going to be tall because my dad is 6'6" and my mom's 5'9", and I'm 5'9".
Oh, wow.
So I got the shortest height I could have possibly gotten. So I knew it was going to be libero or setter, and I just kind of got put into the setting position because I had pretty good hands for just starting, and there were already so many liberos because all of the girls shorter than me were liberos. So I kind of just got put in the setting position, and I just really fell in love with it. So I've always been a setter.
So were there any thoughts of playing volleyball after high school as your career progressed and you got better and better?
Yeah, as soon as I started playing club my sophomore year, I knew I wanted to play Division I volleyball. So I would literally send hundreds of emails. I think I emailed every single Division I coach in the country because I wanted to play Division I volleyball so bad. But I don't think I realized my skill level at the time and the skill level I needed. But yeah, that was my dream since I was 14 or 15 when I started.
So tell me the story of what happened and how you ended up at a junior college in Texas. How did that all go about?
Well, I knew I wanted to play Division I, and if it wasn't going to be right away, I knew that I could take the junior college route because that's the route my dad took with basketball. So he kind of told us how that works. And so I just wanted to find the top junior college that I could go to for a couple years and have an opportunity to go to a higher D1, which I would have rather done than just go Division II or Division III or lower Division I. So I chose to go that route and get better and be able to play at that higher level.
So how did you end up at Tyler Junior College in East Texas, right out of high school?
Yeah, so I literally Googled top 10 junior college teams or junior college rankings, and they had just taken 4th or 5th at nationals. And so I was going to Houston for a volleyball tournament that weekend, and I emailed them, and I happened to go on a visit it was spring of my senior year. I happened to go on a visit right after that. I just flew from Houston to Tyler and did my visit. I actually got to play with them because junior college doesn't have rules like that where you don't get to play with them on your visit. But yeah, so it was nice. And then I committed, I think, that next weekend.
Wow, that is so awesome. And I love your story. I love that you mentioned that you sent an email to every college you could think of to try and start playing volleyball there. And you got to play with your sister, Anya, while at Tyler. What was that like playing with her?
It was so fun. Way better than the tennis. It was good. Yeah, it was awesome. We honestly didn't get to be on the court that much because we ran a 6-2 and I was a setter with the other right side, and then she was the other right side with the other setter when we would rotate out. So I didn't get to be in the games with her as much, but when I got to, it was so much fun. It was so unique, and I was able to be roommates with her, which was so fun to be with someone as close. Our dorm rooms were pretty small, but since Anya and I were so close, we just put our beds together so we would have more space, and we just made one giant bed. So we had a lot of fun times together.
I love that. Sometimes it's better to be on the same team as your sister than against each other. Things go a lot smoother, right?
Yeah, I think it would be worse than the tennis if we were on opposite teams.
Were you still feeling like you could get a Division I scholarship coming out of Texas? What was kind of that second round of recruiting like for you?
Yeah, so that second round of recruiting was right when COVID hit. So it was just as hard as coming out of high school. So I sent all the hundreds of emails again, and not many reached out to me that I was interested in. So I sent all those emails again, and I didn't get to go on any visits. Yeah, so right before COVID hit, the Wyoming coach was able to come watch a practice at Tyler because he was in Houston recruiting at the tournament I had been at my senior year. And he was able to come to a practice, and then 2 weeks after that, we got sent home for COVID. And I kept talking to them. I was talking to my sister's school, and they were just a really competitive program. They had gotten second in the Mountain West that year. And I kind of just decided to go with them because I wanted to play at that higher Division I level.
So coming out of junior college, did you want to play for BYU? Where was BYU on your priority list?
Yeah, I think I probably emailed BYU every time I sent emails out, like out of high school, out of junior college, but I think they always had setters, if I can remember correctly. But I think I was interested in them, but I can't remember if I emailed them or not, but they just were full-on setters, and I just kind of went with who was answering me back and looked at my interest there.
That's awesome. And you were supposed to play for the Cowgirls in the fall of 2020, but COVID kind of ruined the start of your junior season. What was that period of time like for you?
That was pretty hard because when we came in, we had to come in waves. So I only got to be with 5 girls on my team for majority of that fall. And I only had one roommate at the time. So I was pretty much by myself in my apartment most of the time because we couldn't really socialize with each other. We had to wear masks at practice. And so I didn't really get to know my teammates until probably the spring of 2021.
How strange. That had to have been so strange for you. I mean, I can't even imagine. Your team finally got to play 14 matches in a spring season. You started 9 matches, led the team in assists. Was it a relief to just start playing again?
Yeah, we were willing to do anything to get on the court at that point. We were like, we will COVID test 10 times a day if you need us to. We will quarantine, whatever you want us to do. We won't even see each other. We just want to play as much as you can allow us to.
Well, you did very, very well. You led Wyoming in assists in 2021, which would have been your senior season. Did you think that was the end of your college volleyball career?
Yeah, I kind of was coming to terms with it being over, and I was getting engaged to my husband now at the time, and I was just thinking, it's the best thing to do, like just getting married, and it's just a good time to go on to the next chapter in my life. And obviously that's not how things turned out, but I'm kind of glad that I chose another path.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we're going to talk about what or who made Abby decide to become a BYU Cougar. We're here with senior setter from the women's volleyball team, Abby Taylor. Abby, you mentioned that you married BYU men's volleyball player Tion Taylor. So how did he influence you coming to BYU?
He was probably my main influence coming to BYU because I knew once I got married, I was going to be over the long distance at that point, and I knew I wanted to be with him, and there were not many options in Utah.
So Tion is also from Las Vegas. When and how did the two of you guys meet?
So we met during COVID. A lot of people don't like COVID, but I actually love COVID because I met my husband. I got an extra year to play at BYU. So when COVID hit, he was supposed to come home middle of July in 2020. And I was supposed to leave for Wyoming beginning of July in 2020. And he was one of the 21-month missionaries that came home early. So he got home in, I think, April. And I had to come home early from college because we all got sent home for COVID. And we just had a mutual friend that invited us to play grass volleyball. And we just met through that. And the mutual friend actually was Leo Durkin's brother. Leo Durkin was a setter on the men's team here. Yeah, so his 2 younger brothers were both mutual friends of ours, and we just had a group that played volleyball during that whole COVID summer, and we were just able to get to know each other, and I got to stay longer, and he got to come back earlier, so we're glad COVID happened because otherwise we would not have met.
It was good for some things. How long did it take before you were like, yeah, this is the guy that I want to be with?
Oh, it's kind of funny because he texted his friend, I think 4 days after we started dating, that he wanted to marry me, that I was the girl. And I think I knew in like December of 2020. So we had been dating for like 6 months at that point. But he was my first boyfriend ever, so I took things a little bit slower than he did.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. He's like, this girl plays volleyball. She's beautiful. What else can you ask for? So how was it dating long distance while he was at BYU and you had to go back to the University of Wyoming?
Yeah, that was hard. Our whole dating period was long distance, and he was actually able to travel to me a lot in the fall, and I was able to travel to him since our season was canceled. And we were just 6 hours from each other, which is a little bit longer than I would like of a drive, but it was doable. And then in the spring, he was able to travel to me for my season because he was redshirting that year, so he didn't travel with his team. And then in the fall of 2021, he was able to travel to me too. So he did most of the traveling, but we got to see each other a lot with being so close.
So were you hoping to still play volleyball after the two of you were married?
Yeah, I decided in January after my senior season that I really felt like I wanted to play volleyball, that I wasn't ready to end my career, and I wanted to use that COVID year. And I told Tion about it, and he was in support of it. He just didn't really want the long distance. So I talked to my Wyoming coach, and he was so supportive and just an incredible coach. And he was willing to reach out to these coaches in Utah for me, and I was going in the portal to see if I could get any closer to Tion.
So, I mean, that could have been the University of Utah. That could have been UVU, right? So did BYU recruit you, or did you recruit BYU?
So my Wyoming coach actually knew of the BYU coach because BYU used to be in the Mountain West, so they had seen each other as coaches. So he reached out to her, and Heather said that they actually needed a setter. So he reached out to me, and he was like, I think you should contact her. And once I contacted her, she had just contacted me like a couple minutes before. So it was actually really nice. And I did reach out and talk to a few other colleges in Utah. Like, I just decided that BYU was the best fit because I wouldn't have to commute anywhere. I got to live with my husband, got to be on the best team in Utah. So it was kind of a win-win. There wasn't really much of a decision.
Wow, that's incredible how that all worked out. So when you got to BYU, how do you feel like it was different from what you had experienced as a volleyball player in Wyoming?
It's so different here with the culture that BYU has. The girls were just so welcoming. They were amazing, and obviously having the church be a part of the team and the school was just something that was totally different than what I was used to. I was used to being the only LDS member on my team, and now to have a whole team of them was kind of not a culture shock, but it took some adjusting, but it was good adjusting. I was happy to not be the lone LDS member anymore, but they were awesome, and the coaches were just so welcoming, and I just loved playing with girls that just really wanted to play volleyball, loved it. We all had like a common interest and a common goal, and they were just so sweet.
You've started a lot of volleyball matches as a setter. Coming to BYU, though, you knew you probably weren't going to be the starter because of Whitney Bauer, and you starting in matches all 4 of your years. Or she was starting in matches all 4 of her years at BYU. What was your reaction when you found out you probably wouldn't be starting?
Obviously everyone wants to start, but volleyball is a team sport, and I knew that even if I wasn't starting, that I could impact the team in a lot of different ways, and in practice and behind the scenes. And I just really wanted to be a part of this program because it's so unique and amazing, and I just wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. And I knew even if it was me on the bench on game days, that it was still going to be fun, even if it was a different role than I was used to.
How did your husband support you even though you weren't getting the playing time that you were used to?
He's awesome. Like, he would come to every game, even when he knew I was going to sit the bench the whole game. He was so supportive, and he would just, I don't know, hype me up, honestly, most of the time. He was a really good support, and he just could tell that I loved it, even though I was sitting the bench, and he would just talk to me if I needed it, and he was just really good at supporting me that way.
That's so nice. And then Whitney gets hurt. What were your thoughts when that happened?
I mean, no one is expecting it, but at the time when she got hurt, there was a lot of uncertainty for a while, how long she would be out, if she would be out. So I was just a little bit anxious, like kind of waiting. Even while I was starting, we didn't know when she was coming back. Like we would be on game day and not knowing who was starting. So it was different than what I was used to, but it was good to keep me on my toes.
Well, something went really right with you as a starter. You started 7 games late in the season. You won all 7. What was the highlight for you during those stretch of games?
Honestly, all of it. Just getting to play with them on the court, especially in the Smith Fieldhouse, is such a unique experience, and it's something that you can only experience once in your life, but it was something that was so fun. Just getting to play every point with those girls was so fun. Even if I only got to serve or if I didn't even touch the ball on the play, that would still be a highlight because I got to cheer at the end. So it was so fun just playing with them every point.
Well, you have an incredible attitude. In your match against Portland, you had 7 aces, which is tied for second most for a single game in BYU history. Incredible feat for someone at BYU just for 1 year. What was different about your serving in that match? Do you remember?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me that, but nothing was different. I was just hitting the targets that my coaches gave me, and I didn't think I was serving the ball harder than I usually would. I think I was just hitting the targets, and I just remember thinking, I was like, I'm so sorry I'm serving this to you again, but actually not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Thanks for another ace.
Yeah.
All right. So later on, Whitney came back for the last match of the regular season against number 2 San Diego. Was that really hard for you, honestly, not to start in that match?
Yeah, that was a game that we didn't know until the game was starting, pretty much, whether Whitney was starting or I was starting. And the coaches made the call to go with Whitney, and I just immediately flipped my role. I knew I was going to be on the bench that game, but I had so much fun. Even if it was just cheering, getting to be a part of that team was something that I wanted for my senior night, and I got to go in and serve and impact the game that way. But even if it was just from the bench, it was still a great senior night and such a good game.
Man, that's just an incredible attitude, especially as a competitor, because I can't imagine how hard that would be. The team ended up being eliminated by Pittsburgh in the second round of the NCAA tournament. How hard was that on you and your teammates to lose to the same team that beat you earlier in the season?
Yeah, that was so hard. And I had really felt before that game that we were going to win. I knew we had come out, because we do setters and liberos come out about 10 minutes before everyone else to get some touches. And I came out early and I practiced running from the bench and diving on the court, practicing us going to the Sweet 16. And I remember I got in trouble because we weren't supposed to be on the court yet because the time hadn't started. But it was obviously devastating. No one wants to end their career like that. But it was my first time ever being to the NCAA tournament. So I was just grateful to even make it to the second round and experience that in Pittsburgh.
That had to have been a tough way to end your volleyball career, but looking back, how would you wrap up your time with BYU?
It honestly was a dream. I wouldn't change anything about my experience here. It was something that I'm going to remember forever in the best way. I could have ended my career with the best people, and it's something that I'm going to tell my kids later, and something that is definitely going to be in my heart. And I'm glad that I get to still be around for 2 more years with my husband, because then it doesn't make it feel like such a cold turkey cutoff. I get to stick around for a little bit and still be part of Cougar Nation, which is so fun.
Well, you're a college graduate. So what are you up to now that you're not playing volleyball? You're not going to school. What are you up to?
So I graduated with my biology degree from University of Wyoming, and so I love science. So I've started teaching middle school science at American Heritage, and I started in January. They had a teacher that had to leave mid-year, and that opened up, and it was just perfect timing for me. I could not have asked for more, been more blessed. It was amazing, and I love it. I'm about a month in, and it's the best. I have 6th and 8th graders.
Woo, you are brave, man, especially middle school. Those are some rough ages right there. Okay, well, I love that you're doing that. I think that's so amazing. You mentioned you can watch your husband play volleyball. Do you feel like you get more nervous playing yourself or watching Tion play?
Oh, we talk about this all the time. Definitely watching him play. It is way less nerve-wracking when you're on the court because you're into the game, your nerves are gone. But when I'm sitting on the sideline because there's nothing I can do, I'm just like, we're so nervous for them, wanting them to do good. But yeah, it's definitely worse being on the sideline. So that part I miss playing.
Your brother Eric, he plays men's volleyball for McKendree, and they played BYU earlier in the season. Was that kind of fun? Being, in the stands for that match? Yeah,
it was so fun, but pretty hard at the same time because it's pretty controversial. I didn't know who to cheer for, who to clap for.
You're like, I'm just going to be silent. I'm just going to sit here in silence. Is that what you did?
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
All right, so I got to know, one of my final questions for you is, who is the best volleyball player in your family, in your immediate family, including your mom, your sister, and then you can include Tion in this too. Who's the best player?
Oh, it's so hard because we're all different positions. So we're all kind of a little bit different. But I don't know. Because Tion is really good. But he's very athletic. But I would say I'm a better passer and setter, and he's a better blocker and hitter. But
I love it.
I think my brother Eric that plays at McKendree, he is really good at all of the fundamentals. But then I have my other younger brother, Aiden, that's a senior, and he is in high school still, but he's a setter too. So I'm kind of biased towards him because he's really good as well. And then my sister, I always looked up to her. So obviously she's amazing. And my mom, my dad's just tall. He doesn't really know how to play volleyball, but
you'd be a great politician, Abby. You just said wonderful things about everyone that plays volleyball. When in doubt, just pick yourself, okay? Just say it's me.
Yeah, I hope it's me.
We're here with BYU Women's Volleyball, Abby Taylor. Abby, you are incredible. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You can download and listen to all episodes of Her Why on the BYU Radio app or wherever you find podcasts. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.